discussing yet another issue of national importance, which is the final signing of the petroleum agreements, which we refer to as the final investment decision, and we want to look at its implication and the way forward. Remember, this was done on Tuesday last week, where we saw the oil companies, the two, that is a China offshore company, CNOOC, and of course we saw Total Energies and the government of Uganda, represented by the Uganda National Oil Company, that is UNOC, and the Tanzanian government as well, come together to show final commitment for oil exploration in our country. And joining me on set this morning is the Senior Corporate Affairs Officer, that is UNOC Uganda, Herbert Sempogo. Herbert, you're most welcome to our studios this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, UBC TV, for hosting us. Good morning, viewers.
Well, Herbert, to begin with, when we talk about UNOC, that's the Uganda National Oil Company, many Ugandans, first we knew government does not do business. You know, we are in a liberal economy. So just give us a background of UNOC, even before we go any further, and its work in this whole petroleum story.
Okay, thank you so much. Following the discovery of oil in the Albertine Graben, confirmed in 2006, to be thus far 6.5 billion barrels of oil available, out of which close to 1.4 to 1.7 billion barrels being able to be recovered. Government thought it wise to put in place institutions that will facilitate the production of this oil to ensure that the country gets money. And so the National Oil Company was formed based on two laws. One, the Upstream Act and the Midstream Act and the Companies Act. And these are the key laws that guide, that's on which the company was formed, the basis of the formation of a company. And in 2015, we started our operations. We have two shareholders, namely the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and then the other shareholder, who's a majority shareholder, is the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development. We have two arms, or two subsidiaries, namely the Uganda Refinery Holding Company, and as the name suggests, its main focus is ensuring that we have a refinery up and running, so that when we start producing very soon, the crude oil moves into the refinery, which is going to be situated in a place called Kabale, not Kabale, but Kabale in Hoima, Busoga Sub-County, Hoima, so that we can refine our crude oil to have various products on the market, among them petrol and others. The other subsidiary is the National Pipeline Company, which is in charge of all pipelines to do with oil, and also storage terminals. You must have heard that we are in charge of the storage terminals, among them the Ginger storage terminal, and another one upcoming in a place called Namwambula in Mpigi, which is going to be a very big storage terminal where we'll have storage for some of the products that we will refine in Kabale. National Pipeline Company, as you may have heard, is involved in the East African crude oil pipeline, which is one of the key projects in the midstream segment. So in a nutshell, that's the company. Maybe before I forget, we are involved in the upstream projects. Upstream means where the oil comes from, and there are two key projects where we are shareholders. One of them is Tilenga, which is situated up north of Lake Albert. There, our joint venture partner is Total Energies, Uganda. And then the south of Lake Albert, where we have Kingfisher, located in Chikube district, where our joint venture partner is CNOOC Uganda Limited. So briefly, that's the company and those are the projects we are involved in. And our key mandate is to ensure that whatever is done regarding oil and gas in the country, the country benefits, and ultimately the people benefit.
So I'd be right to say that is the business arm of government when it comes to oil?
Yes.
Well, that well given to our viewers. Now that moves me to also back to these agreements. Many people could have followed, others couldn't, but just a recap before we dive deeper into this, really to break down to the ordinary Ugandan. What happened on Tuesday last week?
On Tuesday last week, following long discussions, as you may have heard, that also involved President Yoweri Museveni and the heads of joint venture partners. The key players in the oil and gas subsector projects, namely Total Energies, EP, Uganda, CNOC, Uganda Limited, the Uganda National Oil Company, where I work, and the Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation reaffirmed their commitment to going ahead with these projects. In the technical language, it is called final investment decision. And it's really committing to go ahead with the projects, mainly the Tilenga and Kingfisher, where the oil is going to come from very soon, and then the East African crude oil pipeline, which is going to move crude oil after we've extracted it. It's going to move it all the way from Hoima to Tanga on the shores of the Indian Ocean. So the companies agreed that now there's no turning back. We are moving forward with these projects. They must work. We must see fruits from these projects. So that was the commitment that we saw, of course, led by President Yoweri Museveni, who has been key in these activities.
Well, to many Ugandans, their desire is when, and of course, you are told by 2025, you could be possibly enjoying fuel that comes from Uganda. But Herbert, let's look at the implication of this final investment decision. What does it mean now to Uganda, and what does it mean? I'm so much concerned to the ordinary person at such a point of time, or they should wait for their benefits to come.
Thank you. Maybe before I proceed with that question, there's a bit of a misconception about this final investment decision. Like you said earlier, you asked, you mentioned the word agreement. Now, final investment decision is not an agreement. Agreements were signed earlier. We have, I'll just cite some of them. We have the intergovernment agreement between Uganda and Tanzania. We have the shareholders agreement between the shareholders in the East African crude oil pipeline, who I've mentioned. We have UNOC, we have CNOC, we have Total, and then our counterparts in Tanzania, and other agreements, including the host government agreement between the ECOP and then the government of Uganda and Tanzania. So FID, or the final investment decision, is not an agreement. It's not a document that you sign. No. The individual companies that are involved in the oil and gas projects agree individually or independently on their own, wherever they are. They say, now we are going ahead with these projects. And then thereafter, what they do is they communicate with counterparts, joint venture partners in this case, and say we are now ready to move. And so after
making the assessment, is it economically viable, profit gaining, and all this?
Yes, of course. We
have the infrastructure on ground.
Sure. Of course, this FID is based on feasibility studies and profitability, because at the end of the day, whoever invests wants to recoup their investments and make money, profits. So it can't be made until the participants are sure that they are going to make profit out of what they are doing. So it's not a document. It's just commitment, as we stated earlier. So back to the question. What are the implications? One of the key implications of FID, the final investment decision, is that it's a key that unlocks activity in the oil and gas subsector, in the projects, in the key projects. Yes, there's been activity, but one would argue that it's been low key. It's been moving rather slowly. Yeah, but now that the decision has been made, there isn't going to be any turning back. We are going to see a ramp up of activities in both projects, in the East African crude oil pipeline and the Tilenga and Kingfisher, the upstream projects where the oil comes from. More activity. And this means more money coming into the country, more employment, and a lot of benefits really for the people who are set to participate in the oil and gas subsector. So the key implication is that activities are going to move very, very fast. A few days ago, I was in Kingfisher, the one where the one that we ran jointly with Sinok Uganda Limited, our joint venture partners, and there's a company called Excel Construction, which has been hired to do clearing and preparation of the well pads ahead of development and subsequent production. And this is going to run that way until 2024, just before 2025, when first oil is expected. So there's no turning back. Activities are moving pretty fast. A few days ago, the general manager, Total Energies, EP Uganda, posted something on LinkedIn showing rigs that are being made outside Uganda. And rigs are used in development and, of course, production of oil and gas. And so this shows you the commitment to these activities and the speed with which things are going to move following the final investment decision. So people now, if you thought that this is not going to happen, you need to think twice.
So
if
yes,
it's happening.
very clear now it's happening. But I want to know if at this level, an ordinary Ugandan stands to benefit, apart from the taxes that will come in. Are there opportunities? Because when you look at statistics given, we have directly indirect jobs going to be provided. Where do we see, if any, for the ordinary Ugandan? Not only to wait for the oil finally, maybe consuming it at a pump, but at this stage or in a nearby future, are there opportunities for such people?
Thank you so much. Yes, there are opportunities, and we'll run through them. First of all, there are direct opportunities. Yeah, like of employment, like myself. And as following FID, they're going to increase. You must have seen a few days ago adverts in newspapers by our joint venture partners, Sinok, Total. Even before I came here, we had a post on social media, LinkedIn and Twitter, about jobs that the Uganda National Oil Company is advertising. So there are several indirect jobs, and they're going to increase as the activities intensify. And so Ugandans who are qualified should not hesitate to apply for these jobs. Go ahead and apply. Give it your best shot. But then there are also indirect opportunities that are presented by these activities. For example, when construction of a pipeline starts, and there are guys working in, say, Kakumiro or Masaka or all these other places, Chotera, where the pipeline is going to pass, people are going to need food. People are going to need entertainment. People are going to need accommodation. You know, and who's going to provide these services? It's Ugandans. And so there's a lot of indirect opportunities for these people. Recently, just after last week, after the FID was announced, it also emerged that the big contracts are going to was signed, what is called the Tier 1 contracts in the industry language. But now, although the Tier 1 contracts have gone to the big companies, but they are jobs that Ugandans can do. For example, providing meals, providing security, all these other things. So these are going to Ugandan companies. And that's why we've been telling Ugandans to prepare themselves. Register your company. Register it formally with the Registration Services Bureau, register for tax, and do all these other formalities, so that when the time comes, you're ready to be hired for work in the subsector. The Petroleum Authority of Uganda, which is the regulator of the subsector, set up something. It's called the National Supplier Database. And all this time it's been encouraging companies, people that have companies, to register there. So because when activities intensify, there won't be time to run around looking for people. Rather, they'll go to the register and look out for people who are qualified to offer goods and services, certain goods and services, and these are the people that will be picked. So there's a lot of opportunity. All people have to do is to keep their eyes wide open, and also give these opportunities, whenever they arise, their best shot, so that they can compete favorably and be able to benefit from these contracts. As players in the oil and gas subsector, we are committed to ensuring national content. In fact, at UNOC we have an office that is specifically focused on national content. And what national content does is that it ensures that the local person, the local company, the Ugandan, benefits from the oil and gas activities, and we are facilitating people through sensitizations, workshops, and all these other things to ensure that they benefit. And so, back to the question, there's a lot that people will benefit from, both indirectly and directly. Maybe the other thing, before I forget, at the signing, at the announcement of the final investment decision, it was stated that shillings, 10 billion US dollars is going to be injected into these two projects. The Tilenga Kingfisher, that's upstream where the oil comes from, and the East African crude oil pipeline. Now, this is a lot of money for an economy like Uganda's. And what that does is that it has a ripple effect.
The trickle-down effect.
Yes, on so many other activities. It's like a stimulant. So we expect the economy to benefit a lot, through that ripple effect of the activities.
Well, 10 billion US dollars is really a lot of money. If it goes down to everybody, you never know, the money you touch next could be in connection to this. Maybe someone he has a company that is doing the welding, someone's food, someone somewhere. We are all excited for this money. But allow me to go for a short break. And when we return, I and Albert will be discussing more regarding oil in this country, where we saw the FID signed, and now it is very clear that, okay, commitment is an issue that these companies, the four stakeholders there, have assured Ugandans, and we hope by 2025 we shall see our first oil out of Uganda, and of course there we shall be earning a lot, as I'll give you later on in this program, how much we expect to earn per day as Uganda, and how much that will go to our economy, and also how that will improve our GDP. We'll return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Our Ugandan story isn't a new one. It's not about where we come from. It's about what can be accomplished when we're working, living, and growing together. It's about speaking the same language, the language of progress. We're Ugandans building Uganda with Ugandans, skilling Ugandans and developing competencies required in the oil and gas sector, partnering with Ugandan businesses to achieve greatness. We're here to build because at the end of the day, we're truly Ugandan.
Raising voices.
As a mother, my children depend on me to make this world a safer place for them. I'm not afraid to act when I see violence in the home and in my community. I promise to talk to my neighbors and friends about how we can nurture and protect the children.
In this time of COVID, what is your promise to the children of Uganda? Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising voices.
COVID-19 is still here with us. As Professor Maggie Chigozi states, the time is now for all of us to get vaccinated.
When we have one person who's not vaccinated, it affects everybody around them, most especially the ones close to you. Keep your family safe. Anyone right now who's over 18 should go and get vaccinated.
Because of the new COVID-19 circulating variants like Omicron, it is very important for all of us to be fully vaccinated with 2 doses of the same vaccine type. It's only those getting Johnson & Johnson who receive only a single dose to be fully protected.
Even after vaccination, continue to adhere to all SOPs by wearing a mask properly, covering your mouth and nose, washing your hands regularly with soap and clean water or using an alcohol-based sanitizer, maintaining physical distance of at least 2 meters from others and avoiding crowds. Echa COVID-19, chija kugwa.
It's time to teach. Schools are open. In these days of COVID-19, teachers are not only giving knowledge, but protecting themselves and their students from the virus. As a teacher, you must ensure that students follow the set SOPs of always maintaining a distance of 2 meters from others in classrooms, dormitories, entertainment halls, school vans and playgrounds, wearing a washed and clean mask every day that covers their mouths and noses, and regularly washing their hands with soap and water. In addition to that, you must counsel students about stigma related to COVID-19 and discourage them from violence. Any violence against students from classmates, teachers or parents should be reported immediately to a school administrator or senior woman or man teacher for correction and further guidance. Ensuring everyone's safety is key, so make sure students are out of class by the official closing time. Let's share knowledge, not COVID-19. This message is supported by the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education and Sports, and UNICEF. Stay safe.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. Thank you so much for keeping it with us. We're still looking at the FID, the decision that was taken by the oil companies in this country, and that was concluded at Kololo ceremonial grounds. That was Tuesday last week, and with me is Herbert Sento, who happens to be the spokesperson, that is the Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC, that is to ensure that yes, things to do with oil, they're in charge of this country and to ensure that all Ugandans stand to benefit. Now, Herbert, so much has been talked about the companies, and some have gone into to the extent of content, how much are we getting? But for me, I want us to also focus on how prepared we are. Because you see, opportunities come to the prepared. Mm-hmm. Oil in some countries has been a blessing, greatly a blessing to many. But we've also seen countries where oil has been a curse because of low levels of preparation. Mm. How prepared is Uganda?
Thank you. Interesting question. Well, and it takes, that reminds me about a question that is rather common, asked by Ugandans: why have we taken this long? There's something good out of this. You know, although we've seemingly taken long to get to first oil, but people need to remember that we didn't have laws. to guide these activities. And so we had to go through the process of drafting these laws, debating them, and having them passed and assented to by the president. Secondly, we didn't have regulations, and regulations had to be put in place. There were no institutions like the one that I work for, the Uganda National Oil Company, didn't exist. The Petroleum Authority, the regulator, didn't exist, and so on. But also look at the infrastructure. I don't know if you've ever been to Hoima.
Yeah, I've ever been at both oil wells. But previously, that's some time back, about 8 years.
I mean, I was going to release a few days ago, and the person I was moving with said then, if someone told you to go to release, you almost cried because the road was terrible, But right now it's smooth tarmac. Some roads, yes, the oil roads have been made, so the infrastructure is in place up to all these projects like the Kingfisher, which is down on the shores of Lake Victoria in a place called Buhuka, in Changwali, in Chikuwe. Then the Tilenga, where the central processing facility is being constructed. The central processing facility is a filter for the oil after it's been, extracted. Then it's filtered, and then it goes into the refinery via feeder pipelines. And this work is now happening. So we are really, really prepared and set for this. For the development of these areas, and then the eventual production and up to first oil, which we expect in 2025, as it has been stated. Back to the question of the CAS. The period between 2006 to date has been a blessing to Uganda. Why? Because it has enabled us to study critically these countries. We've had several benchmarking trips to countries that have made it in oil and gas and countries that have failed in oil and gas. And what this has done for us is it has prepared us to ensure that we do only the best things to enable us benefit from this gift, God-given gift of oil and gas. In fact, my bosses went to one of the countries in West Africa, one of the countries that's been producing oil for a long time. Unfortunately, it's in that caste category. And these people told them, you know what, the hosts, there's good things and bad things, but only pick the bad things. Their mistakes. They asked the Ugandan delegation to only pick the mistakes. Why? Because then the Ugandan team would be able to know the things that they should not do to ensure that our oil is not a gas. You understand? And we picked all these things. So as a country, we are really set. We are prepared. Everything is in place. And like I said earlier, there's no turning back. We are really, really prepared. On all fronts, really. The laws, the institutions, the infrastructure, the people, and the resources are also available. Back to the people, like I said earlier, we've been pushing and training and facilitating them to ensure that they are able to partake of this, because it's very important that as a nation we don't find ourselves in that trap of having a resource that does not benefit the public. So that's why you see all these things have been made, the National Suppliers Database by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, and encouraging people to register and prepare so that when opportunities come, it's easy to identify those who qualify. But also asking companies to formalize their institution, their businesses. For example, if you're going to compete for a job advertised by one of the contractors. I mean, you must be registered for tax. Your company must be complying with NSSF. You must be registered by the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, and so on and so forth. So we are really prepared as a country to benefit from this resource.
Well, how about there is also another concern. We said there's no turning back, but there is this concern where the world is moving away from fossil fuels. There are also concerns of environment. One environmental scientist was telling me that even when you look at the pipeline, so how are you factoring in these concerns? To many, for us, the wedding is just beginning, yet we are being told that such may in the near future be ending. And also, of course, there's so many voices of environmental concerns, heated pipe because of the nature of our oil, all the way it has to flow through that heated pipe, and actually it's, I think, the longest heated pipeline that the world will ever have. It will be in Uganda, and I'm told this is going to be the longest so far in the world. So with all these concerns, throw more light to this as well.
Thank you so much. Good question. I'll start with the environmental aspect before getting into the other. All our projects, from where we get the oil, what we call upstream, to midstream where we refine and then move it through pipelines, to where we store it, undergo thorough environmental social impact assessments and studies. And we do not go ahead with a project until we are really sure that a project is not going to harm the environment and its aspects. For example, the East African crude oil pipeline, which you mentioned, it underwent a thorough environment social impact assessment study and analysis. And after we did it and satisfied all the nitty-gritties of that study and analysis, we submitted it to the environment body, the National Environment Management Authority, which was satisfied with what we presented as mitigation measures and activities to ensure we don't harm the environment. And we got a certificate and a go-ahead and approval to go ahead with the project. And the same happened on the other side, Tanzania, our counterparts, where the pipeline is going to pass and has the longest journey. So we are really cognizant of the potential impacts on the environment, and that's why we have thorough plans of ensuring that projects do not harm the environment. For example, that pipeline, our specialists, experts, did a lot to ensure that it skirts or goes past most the sensitive ecosystems, say wetlands and places that are rich in biodiversity. So we skirted past them. But it's also going to be buried underground. So it has minimal impact on, like you're saying, heat emission. Besides, it's going to be insulated. So the impacts are going to be very minimal, most likely none. But also we have contingency plans. Should there be, God forbid, a spill or something, we have thorough contingency plans of ensuring that we respond immediately to ensure that the environment in which we operate is not impacted. And these environment studies go across all the projects. For example, the refinery. There was an interesting study. There was a snail in the area where the refinery is going to be. And this snail was going to be impacted by the activities. So experts had to study its life cycle and identify mitigation measures. So you see the extent to which we go to ensure that the environment is not harmed. And if it's going to be harmed, what mitigation measures? And they are listed and have to be approved by the environment body. That said, fossil fuels seem to be
even at COP26, it is something that came out. It seems to be that there is a fear that maybe when you've put these investments, we wake up and the world is a no-go area for that, which is a major target, actually.
Well, one of the concerns about fossil fuels is the fact that they contribute to increased carbon emissions and so lead to increased global warming, among other negative effects. However, like I said, we are cognizant of all this, and we are complying with all internationally acceptable standards to ensure that we do not harm the environment. For example, there's something called flaring of gas that happens during exploration and related activities, exploration of oil and gas. So we no longer do that flaring because it was discovered that it negatively impacts the environment. That's one of the things we are doing to avert negative impacts on the environment. But also, we have thorough greening campaigns. For example, tree planting in most of these activities. Recently, my boss, the CEO, met with the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, and the gist of their discussion was a thorough tree planting campaign in those areas where our projects are. So you see, we are interested in ensuring that although our activities are within the environment, but we implement activities like tree planting, which offset the impact on the environment. You know the role of trees in capturing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. You remember that science. So we have thorough campaigns of ensuring that there's minimal impact on our environment through the extraction of fossil fuels, oil and gas. That said, there's also a concern that the world is going away from
fossil fuels.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't think it's going to happen in a blink of an eye. I think in the foreseeable future, petrol is going to remain a key facilitator of movement, of industry, and so many other activities, as we see. I don't think electric cars are going to circulate and be here in the next, say, 20 or 30 years. It will take some time.
It'll take some time.
Yeah, but also the demand for petrol, for jet fuel is still high up there. We are yet to see a plane that uses solar power. They use jet fuel, and jet fuel is part of the byproducts of refining. So as long as jets do not use solar power or wind energy or any other, petrol is going to remain a key need, and therefore Uganda still stands to benefit, even as there are some voices about fossil fuels not being good and getting out of becoming a thing of the past. It will still be beneficial to the country, and we intend to pursue it to the logical end, where every Ugandan benefits from this God-given gift.
To Uganda. Well, very interesting there. We know this will be a gradual process, like he had said. And of course, there are a number of petroleum products. I don't want only to think that it's fuel. There are a number, like you mentioned, jet fuel among others, that even when such a time comes, still we can still have more of these products. The diverse ability of the discovery of oil, where many products can come on, then we shall still benefit. But also, Herbert, as we head to our concluding remarks, the FID being something done. Now, what does this mean in the journey to Uganda's oil? Have we now reached our final, that all we are waiting for? Because that, I'm going into the mind of an ordinary Ugandan who has seen a number of agreements. This was a commitment. a number of agreements, right, even from the days of the late Pombe Magufuli, may his soul rest in eternal peace. When he came to Uganda, witnessed an agreement. He was supposed to come. It's Sumia Suluhu who came after he had passed on. So we've had agreement, this. So to an ordinary mind, what does this mean in this journey?
Thank you. Just a little bit on the agreements that you've mentioned. All that was part of a preparation, because I always say when I'm hosted on such shows, unlike importing a car, which is like 1, 2, 3 steps from Japan or Europe, oil and gas is a different thing altogether. It has to go through. It has to be systematic, because you can't work backwards. If you do that, that's when you get into problems that we've seen elsewhere, and we don't want to do that. And the gift of oil and gas becomes a curse. So that's why we had to go systematically to ensure that things go well. So following the signing of the FID, my bad, not signing, the announcement by the joint venture partners that we are now set. What this means to the ordinary Ugandan is that we are now closer to first oil, which is 2025.
Rightly said. That is a statement I knew the ordinary Ugandan was waiting for. We are now closer, and the time has been set, 2025. Let me have your final remarks.
Thank you once again, UBC, for hosting us. To the Ugandans out there who want to be part of this, and I know there are many, please, like I said, whenever you see an opportunity, there are jobs. Before I came here, we had posted jobs on our social media platforms. Please apply. There are going to be jobs by the joint venture partners, by Sinop, by Total, and other companies that have been hired to do work in the oil and gas subsector. But also, you can also get opportunities indirectly. If there's a camp in your area, say constructing of the pipeline, go and provide food, provide entertainment, provide any service, health services. People will need these services. When you see bids being advertised by the players in the subsector, submit your bid, put in your tender to get an opportunity to offer a service. One key thing that I nearly forgot is that government, in the interest of in compliance with national content guidelines and regulations, set aside 16 areas, 16 that are only going to be provided by Ugandan companies. 16, and these include hospitality, transport, security, and so many others. And you can get this on the Petroleum Authority website. 16. So you can imagine the amount
these are
of
ring-fenced for us.
That's the word. Actually, that's the word used. 16 areas that are ring-fenced for Ugandan companies. So there's a lot to benefit. And like we've been saying, just prepare, be set, do what you have to do so that you benefit from the immense opportunities that the oil and gas brings to the country.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Herbert, for your time. I believe there is so much that Ugandans have known. The assurance is given to us that we are in the final stages. We are nearing day by day to 2025. And of course, that means when we will see our first oil out of Uganda. Thank you so much, Herbert Sempo, who happens to be the Senior Corporate Affairs Officer. That is Uganda National Oil Company that has the stewardship of ensuring that anything to do with our oil, they give us the right direction and the best results for all of us to benefit from this natural resource. Have a lovely day. God bless you. Don't forget, COVID is still around. So wear your mask, social distance if possible, and above all, go and get vaccinated. Good morning, Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
It's time to learn. Schools are open. As a student, school life is going to be different. You must follow the COVID-19 prevention measures, which include